Shalom. Welcome once again to another installment of Apostles of GMS, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Apostle Rhymelab is out of town with some other camps. I'm out of state. Today, what we're going to go into is what we went into last week, same topic. We're going back into the basics. What did I call it last week?
Back to the basics.
Back to the basics. Today's date is April. What is it? April 16th. Yeah, it's got to be April 16th. Just double check. Yeah, April 16th, 2016. And the topic says it all. We're just gonna go with the flow. It's almost like you can say it's an open forum, you know. But anyway, we want to go to the basics because we want to go back to the beginning. We want to go into certain scriptural breakdowns. We want to go on the comment board. We want to check out some of these videos. And a lot happened this week, man. You know, last week, Sarnetta brought his ass down to the camp. And, you know, he's the patron saint of all black women. Came down talking about why we hate black women, why we going around raping little babies, which we don't do that. We don't advocate that. We don't put that out. We don't tell nobody to do that. But that's something a nigga just want to ride on because he's a damn demon. But then a couple of days after that, the news came out about Africa Bambaataa of the Soul Sonic Force that what's the man? Ronald Savage is his name.
Yeah, Ronald Savage.
He makes the allegation that he was molested as a young man, and it got back to Bambaataa. All right. Now, Star picked up on it and rolled with it, man. It seemed like everybody's afraid to even talk about it, including Sarnetta. All right, because Sarnetta, he did a video, the 40th anniversary of the Zulu Nation. Now, when this dude, Ronald Savage, came out and made the allegation, Africa Bambaataa came back and denied the claim. But then there was a second individual, then there was a third individual, then there was a fourth individual, and now I think we're up to the fifth or the sixth. So there's a lot of people coming out saying that they did that, and he's a known, he's a known, what's the word, pediandry?
Pederast?
Pederast. I'm sorry, pederasty. All right. When you look that up, let me deal with that. Let me deal with that.
Yeah. Well, like Elder Apostle Tar was saying, I have an exclusive in front of me. It says exclusive. Africa Bambaataa sex abuse accuser Ronald Savage details years of torment following hip-hop icon's molestation. He damaged me. And our question to Sarnetta, which we call him Sarnigga, and you got other brothers that call him Sarnisha, because that's what he's acting like. He's acting like a so-called black woman that's been, a disgruntled so-called black woman that's been, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're in a relationship with her and you dismiss her and she becomes all combative, that's what he's acting like. A woman scorned, right? So, our question to you, and we know you watch our shows, Nigga. All right, my nigga. Our question to you is, are you gonna talk about that? Are you gonna do an exclusive on your many channels that you have, bringing out the fact that this guy?
We can invite Bambaataa to the
studio. Bambaataa himself, yeah.
To the Sarnetta studio.
Since you're so comfy cozy with the guy, like it was demonstrated in that 40th anniversary of hip hop, and Bambaataa himself was there.
And listen to the way Sarnetta and Sarnetta TV will always keeping it real, keeping it hot, open up your mind. Peace.
And they, he gave you a promo. He's talked about Sarnetta TV. So are you going to bring him on your channel and interview him?
He's a famous comedic cat.
Yeah, and he's one of the icons of the so-called black consciousness movement, if not one of the premier icons, one of the bigwigs, if you will. So are you going to, inquiring minds want to know. We want to know what Bambaataa has to say about these allegations brought against him.
Well, he denied everything. So,
yeah. Well, it'd be
more
nice
people
if you,
are going to come out,
Right. It'd be nice if you brought him on your show, and we, you could interview him, But that's our question to you, since you're so quick to call us. When I say us, I mean Great Millstone, since you're so quick to call us child molesters and baby rapers and all the kind of shit that you was talking. Well, here's a real case with this guy, Afrika Bambaataa, one of the icons of the so-called black consciousness movement. All right, so what are you going to do, son nigga? My nigga? What are you going to do? Now, focusing on the black woman, the so-called black woman, going back to the curses, one of the reasons why the so-called black woman acts like that to the so-called black man goes back to the curses. And you tribes out there, you fail to realize the more we keep bringing it out, those of you that listen but you don't pay too much attention, all the problems that the so-called black community has goes back to the curses. And if you go back to since we're going back to the basics, one of the basics is the curses. And if you go back to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, around the 15th verse, it says this. It says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power." Now this is our forefather Moses, which was an Israelite, all right? He was of the tribe of Levi, and he received laws, statutes, and commandments from the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. Okay, and the condition was if the nation of Israel kept the laws, statutes, and commandments, they would be a blessed people. As a matter of fact, let me jump up to the first verse. Deuteronomy 28:1, it says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power, which his name is Yahweh, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power," and this is directed to the Israelites, okay, of which you're looking at the sign now, the different tribes, that unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So we're supposed to be above all the other nations, above all the other people. We're a royal people. We're a special people. All right, the Israelites. By the way, the word Israel means he's a prince of power. Okay? And that was the condition. If we kept the laws, statutes, commandments, we would be set on high above all nations on the earth. The second verse, "And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power." Now we know the story. We didn't keep the laws, statutes, and commandments given to us by our forefather Moses. So that's where the curses come in. What we're under right now. Deuteronomy 28:15. "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments, which we didn't do, or which we didn't keep, and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." So we're under the curses. Now, I'm going to focus on one of the curses being the so-called black woman, the reason why she acts the way she does to the so-called black man. All right? Now, that's found in the 56th verse. Okay, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 56th verse. It says, "The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom." Now this is, first and foremost, it starts with the so-called black woman, which comes out of the tribe of Judah, which that being the head tribe, but it's really talking about all the other women of the nation of Israel, the different women, like the so-called Puerto Rican women or woman, the so-called North American Indian woman, the so-called West Indian woman, okay, the so-called Mexican woman, but mainly the so-called black woman, because she comes out of the head tribe, the tribe of Judah. So it says her eye, meaning her mind, okay, like you got to say in your mind's eye. Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom. That's you so-called black men. And dealing with the other women, that's, the men of the tribes, all right? Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Okay, so her son and her daughter. And you notice how the so-called black woman treats her children, in particular her son. That's why even, what's his name, Tommy Sotomayor, he says that the so-called black woman is the worst stewards of children. And you look up that word steward. That's a person that takes care of a person, like a caretaker. So he makes that statement. He says that the so-called black woman is the worst stewards of children. And he has plenty of videos to prove it on his channel. Okay? And there's a reason for that. What he doesn't bring out is the reason why they are the way they are. Well, I'm reading to you the reason. It goes back to the Bible. It goes back to the basics that were under curses. Okay, so going back to Deuteronomy 28:68, it says, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom. So that's why the so-called black woman has a negative mindset to you so-called black men. And toward her son, especially her son, okay, and toward her daughter. That's why they'll do stuff like they'll put the daughter or the son, you'll find them in a garbage can, all right? You'll find them I remember years ago, they used to put them in a trash chute. The children, they'll put them, that's inconceivable, man.
Well, Farrakhan was, his mother attempted to abort him 3 times by taking a wire hanger and shoving it up in her to kill Farrakhan.
There you go.
When I say Farrakhan, I'm talking about Minister Farrakhan, because she was dealing with a darker skinned man, but then she was also fooling around with a lighter skinned man, and she realized she was pregnant, and she didn't know whether it was a dark skinned man that she was supposed to be dealing with, her man, or this light skinned individual that she was messing around behind his back. And so she said, well, look, if the baby come out light skinned, he's going to know that she's been fooling around. Now, don't say, well, why are you going to bring out that mess on Farrakhan, or why are you going to air out his dirty laundry? Why are you going to do that? Well, he says it himself. It's on video. It's on YouTube. When he did the interview with Alex Jones, he came out and said it. He broke it down the same way I broke it down. So it's not no secret. And he didn't want it to be a secret. He actually said it out of his own mouth. When I heard that story years ago, and when I heard that story, it was an Edomite that said it on a radio show, and I said, I don't believe that. But now when the actual man says that happened, then you got to believe it, man.
For Trump.
And it ain't no secret, okay?
He could.
So, our people are wicked as hell, man.
Into the abyss of hell.
Yeah.
He's free.
And like I said,
he's rich.
Since we were covering the basics, it goes back to the curses. Going back to Deuteronomy 28:56, it says, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom. Now, you know what? When you jump up to the 54th verse, this explains the so-called black-on-black crime that's running rampant in the so-called ghetto, okay? Deuteronomy 28:54, which says this, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, that's what that is that's a parabolic way of saying these were Israelite men that had love for each other. Now, even in the New Testament, Yahushua said that the love of many shall wax cold. All right, so we're living in a time when there's not too much love out there. All right, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. So there's you'll notice that the so-called black man, the hate that he has intensifies for another so-called black man. And why is that? Because it goes back to the curses. Like he doesn't hate all the other nations. He doesn't hate them as much as he hates his own kind. his own people. And there it is right there. So that the man that is tender among you, the Israelite man, and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom. That's why another reason why the so-called black family is totally distraught, totally destroyed. That goes back to the curses. And toward the remnant of his children. Now, when I read this, you're going to see that mainly pertains to the so-called black man. And toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Okay, so isn't it a fact that the majority of black men out there leave their
Where
children?
you reading from?
Deuteronomy 28 and 54.
Okay, I was going to go to that, but that's the spirit.
Yeah, isn't it a fact that the majority of so-called black men leave their children? And, it's gotten so bad that you have a government agency known as child support trying to force them to take care of their children, which, according to the scriptures is not legal, is not biblical, all right? But that's just more proof that we're under the whip or under the oppression of the so-called white man, all right? So there's a lot of answers, and they're all in the scriptures.
Yeah, I got something about now. Sarnetta was so concerned about the black babies, and black people in particular. And we're not going to stay on this subject. We're going to go into other things, but we had to touch on this. This is a website called blackgenocide.org, and it says the most dangerous place for an African American is in the womb. And that's Pastor Clenard Childress Jr. He made that statement, that quote. It says, several years ago, when 17,000 aborted babies were found in a dumpster outside a pathology laboratory in Los Angeles, California, some 12 to 15,000 were observed to be black. And this is a statement from Irma Claudy Craven, social worker and civil rights leader. So you ask him for where's all the black love? It ain't on this planet. Right. It says approximate number of African American deaths since 1973. AIDS, 245